Today, we're going to explore 9 visions that many people have at the moment of their death. When a loved one passes away, their family members are left with many questions. How do they feel? Where are they now? Have they found the light? Are they at peace? Are they okay? These are questions that torment the heart and reveal the deep love that was shared. True love never dies. It simply changes form. If you have lost a loved one, perhaps when you close your eyes, you can still feel their presence. And without a doubt, when you think of that loved one, your heart fills with a mix of pain and nostalgia. If you have ever felt this way, this video is for you. Today, I am going to share the 9 things that people who physically die see. The information in this video comes directly from the Bible and also from the accounts of people who have had a near-death experience, NDE. These are people who reached a state of clinical death but then returned to life and were able to describe what they saw while they were dead. Let's begin with the first thing people see when they die. Number 1, they see their loved ones who have passed before them. At the very moment they take their last breath and their heart stops beating, something extraordinary happens. The person who is dying clearly sees those who passed before them, waiting to guide them towards the light, bringing them with peace and joy. Imagine your loved one on their deathbed, their eyes closing but then opening to a new world. There, in the twilight between life and death, familiar faces appear, those who have already departed. It is not a dream nor a hallucination. They are there waiting as if they knew that the time has come. And that place where they wait is protected by God, because God is not a God of the dead, but of the living. For him all live, as Ecclesiastes reminds us. The dust returns to the ground it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Those who died before are there to guide the person who is departing. There is no fear, no loneliness, just an indescribable peace and a warm light that envelops the entire scene. Psalm 36 also reinforces this idea. For with you is the fountain of life. In your light, we see light. Some accounts mention the moment when the deceased sees the light, and those who are still alive and accompanying the dying person can feel something, a sweet, floral fragrance that fills the environment. It is a sign, a whisper from beyond, a manifestation of those spirits who have come to take their loved one to a place of peace. I would like to take a small pause to encourage you to leave a comment. Sharing your experience about the loss of a loved one can be very helpful to others. Even if it's just to express how much you miss that person. Many who watch this video may be going through a difficult time due to the loss of a loved one and may find comfort in reading your experience, knowing that they are not alone. In doing so, you can help other people who are looking to feel understood and know that there are others going through the same thing. For example, you can describe the pain you felt or feel for losing someone close, what you did to overcome that loss, or what advice from others helped you at that time. A comment from you can help many. Now let's continue. We were talking about how sometimes when a loved one dies, the people around them can sense a faint scent of flowers. This is a moment filled with tension and drama, a clash between the earthly and the divine that forces us to reflect on the fragility of our existence and on what really matters at the end of the journey. Because in those final moments, the riches, the achievements, and the worries of everyday life fade away. What remains is love, the invisible bond that unites us to those who passed before us. And so, in the instant of death, a truth is revealed that we must all face. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This is the lesson we must carry with us, the importance of love and connection with our loved ones, because in the end, that is what really matters. They will breathe new life. There is nothing more powerful than a love that transcends death. a love that knows no limits or boundaries. In the end, we will all meet in that light, guided by those who have gone before us, because death is not the end, but the beginning of a new journey. Number 2, the feeling of detachment from material possessions. One of the sensations people experience at the brink of death is that all material things lose their importance. This detachment is necessary to be able to transcend without any obstacles. Imagine the last breath of your loved one, that moment when everything you know dissolves into nothingness. In that precise instant, when life slips away like sand through fingers, something astonishing happens. The material world and everything that was once important lose their value. The house you loved so much, the car you took such care of, the jewelry, the titles, the achievements, all vanish in a sigh. None of that matters anymore. It's as if, at the threshold of death, a truth we have ignored our entire lives is revealed. When someone is about to die, a brutally honest clarity takes over their mind. At that moment, they understand that the possessions, the wealth, and the goods they accumulated with so much effort are just shadows, weightless illusions on the threshold between life and death. Because we brought nothing into this world, and certainly we can take nothing out of it. This verse resonates powerfully at that moment when the dying person detaches from everything material. It is a release, a final severance from the earthly world that allows them to move forward without chains towards the unknown. It is a moment of pure and raw truth. Everything they fought for, everything that once caused worry, simply fades away. What truly matters is not in the tangible things. It is not the big house, the money in the bank, or the objects that once defined their identity. What good is it for a man to gain the whole world if he loses his soul? This is the question that suddenly takes on overwhelming meaning. In the end, all that remains is the naked soul, free from the bonds of the world. And here is where reflection becomes deep, almost universal. Deep down, we all know that there is something beyond the material, something that transcends the physical world. It is a feeling we share, even if we sometimes forget it in the hustle and bustle of daily life. Death reminds us of that truth in a way that we cannot ignore. At that moment, we understand that true wealth is not in what we possess, but in who we are, in what we carry in our hearts and souls. This detachment, this abandonment of the material is not a punishment but a blessing. It allows us to cross to the other side without burdens, without weights that drag us into darkness. It prepares us for an encounter with the eternal, with the divine. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. In death, this teaching becomes reality. It is then when the light shines brighter, when the soul, free from ties, rises towards the infinite. This is the final act of liberation. At the end of the road, only what truly matters remains. The material dissolves and the soul prepares for the great journey. It is a reminder to all of us that, in life, the essential is not in what we possess, but in who we are, in the love we give, and in the peace we carry, because in the end, that is the only wealth we can take with us. Let's continue with the third thing that people see when they die. Number 3, they see their own body from above. Thirdly, when they die. When a person dies, they often experience a different perspective of their surroundings. It is common for them to see their body from above, observing everything that happens around them. From this new position, they can see their loved ones crying and suffering, being aware of every detail of what is happening at that moment. They perceive every sound, every gesture, and are able to feel the emotional energy in the room, even silently saying goodbye to their loved ones. Imagine for a moment that life, with all its joys and sorrows, comes to an end. Your loved one exhales their last breath. And what follows is something beyond what we can imagine. Suddenly, they are no longer limited by their physical body, but neither have they completely disappeared. They are suspended, floating in a space that exists between the earthly and the eternal. From this elevated place, they see everything. Their motionless body, surrounded by faces filled with sadness and tears. But although they are no longer physically present, they find themselves on another plane, observing everything as a witness to their own departure. This moment is one of the most impactful experiences one can have after death. Now, without the body that was their home for so many years, your loved one is only spirit. From this privileged perspective, they have a clarity they have never felt before. They see the people they love, feel their pain, and hear their laments as if they were their own. It is a devastating moment, but also profoundly moving, as they witness the love that surrounds them, a love so strong that the tears fall like rain. From this point of view, your loved one can offer a final farewell, a goodbye that goes beyond words. It is a message conveyed in the language of the soul, a language that goes beyond the human. This farewell is a manifestation filled with love, gratitude, and peace, a message that resonates deeply in the hearts of those left behind. The spirit of your loved one communicates with the living, leaving a testimony of their final goodbye that is profound and moving. This is where a reflection arises that we all carry within us, even though we often hide it deep within our being. Death is not the end. It is a step, a transition, a transformation. In that moment, when your loved one looks down from above, they understand that life is not measured by the years lived, but by the love that was given, the bonds that were created, and the impact left on those who now mourn their departure. It is a moment of self-reflection, not of judgment or condemnation, but of pure truth. This process allows the loved one to recognize what really matters: love, compassion, the memories left behind. Although they are no longer in their physical form, their presence remains strong, and their spirit leaves an indelible mark on the hearts of those who love them. This is a moment filled with intense emotions, of sadness and farewell, but also of deep peace. Because in that final farewell, there is an understanding that life and love transcend beyond death. In silence, your loved one understands that, although earthly life has come to an end, love endures. Love never disappears, and that is the most powerful truth of all, the one that truly transcends death. Number 4, they appear in the dreams of the living to say goodbye. Sometimes, after passing away, people remain briefly in this world. They do this to visit places they need or wish to see for various reasons, one of which is to say goodbye to those family members who were not present when they left. They want to convey peace and comfort to them. For this reason, there are cases where people have seen their loved ones in dreams or have felt their presence without knowing they had already passed away. It is in that instant, when they see them, that they learn that this person has just died. As energy, they travel to the dreams of the people they love. Your loved one felt the last breath escape their body, and in that moment, everything changed. They were no longer trapped in pain or the limitations of the flesh. They were now light, pure energy. However, they did not leave immediately. Something kept them in this world, a force more powerful than death itself: love. From their new perspective, your loved ones saw everything with surprising clarity. They knew they had left their body behind, but they were not ready to leave completely. There were places they needed to visit, goodbyes they had not yet said. It was as if one last sacred task called them before crossing to the other side. First, your loved one went to see their sister, who was not in the room when they died, something that tormented her. They found her asleep, her face tired from crying so much. They approached her, and although there were no words, their presence said it all. "He will send his angels to guard you in all your ways." They were not an angel, but in that moment, their mission was to offer comfort and peace. The sister, though asleep, felt a sudden relief, a calm that overcame her. At that moment, she knew that everything would be all right. But it was not just their sister. Your loved one knew there were others who needed to say goodbye, even if they didn't know it. The cousin they hadn't seen in years, the old friend they never forgot. To each of them, they left one last trace of their essence, whether in a dream or an unexpected breeze. They presented themselves, and even if not fully understood deep in their souls, they knew that visit was their goodbye. In their final journey, they understood something they hadn't in life. Death is not the end, but a transition. Love never disappears. And so, as energy, as light, they moved through the places and people they loved, leaving a spark of their love in each one. They knew that when they finally crossed to the other side, those sparks would continue to shine in the hearts of those they left behind. Finally, the moment came for your loved one. They had said their goodbyes, offered comfort, and closed all the chapters. Now they felt the call of the eternal, a deep peace inviting them to rest. With one last look, they let go, knowing they had fulfilled their mission. God will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying, nor pain, for the former things have passed away. Your loved one faded into the light, but their presence, their love, and the marks they left will remain in this world, in the hearts of those they touched forever. Number 5, they see their life as a movie. Fifthly, as they transcend, they begin to see their life as if it were a movie, whether good moments or bad. They want to know if they made the most of their life, and if they were happy. They are shown their life in this way, so they can relive those cherished moments and truly understand what their life was like on this plane. Your loved one has crossed the threshold, that boundary that separates earthly life from the eternal. Instead of fading into nothingness, they now find themselves in a different space, where time no longer has the same meaning. Here, past and present intertwine into a single flow of memories. In this state, something profound and revealing happens. The life of your loved one unfolds before them like a movie, a sequence of images, sounds, and emotions. Every moment, from the days of childhood to the last breaths, passes before their eyes with heartbreaking clarity. Here, there is no room for lies or illusions. Everything is revealed as it truly was. For there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, nor anything secret that will not come to light. This is the naked truth, a summary of an entire life shown in its entirety. Your loved one contemplates the happy moments, those days of pure joy when laughter filled the spaces and love seemed eternal. But they also see the difficult moments, the mistakes, the decisions made in darkness, and the words they wished they could take back. We must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for the things done while in the body, whether good or bad. It is not a condemning judgment, but a review, an opportunity to truly understand the life that was lived. Your loved one wonders if they were happy, if they made the most of each day, if they loved enough, and if they lived with purpose. It is a deep reflection that touches the innermost fibers of their being, because, in the end, what matters is not just what was done, but how it was lived. Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Now, in this space between worlds, your loved one seeks the wisdom of a life well lived. In the midst of this process, they realize something essential. Life was not perfect, but it was full of moments that defined its essence. The laughter, the tears, the triumphs, and the falls. Everything has a purpose, a meaning that perhaps was not understood in life, but is now revealed with astonishing clarity. During this final review, your loved one is not alone. The divine presence accompanies them, guiding them on this journey of self-evaluation. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. From beginning to end, God was present in every moment, now showing them the complete truth of their existence. At the end of this process, your loved one understands that happiness is not a destination, but the journey itself. That true wealth is not in material things, but in shared moments, acts of love, and the pursuit of inner peace. With this understanding, they feel at peace, ready to continue their journey into the eternal, knowing that their life, with all its imperfections, was fully lived. Thus, with this final revelation, your loved one bids farewell to this life with a sense of fulfillment because, although it was not always easy, every moment was worth it. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. And now, with a light heart and a peaceful spirit, your loved one moves forward toward the light that awaits them. Number 6, they see an intense light. Those who have experienced a near-death experience often describe a bright light, a deep sense of peace, or the vision of a beautiful place, a paradise they do not want to leave but must return from because their time has not yet come. However, for those whose time has come, that light is the place they head to, the destination where they will live in peace. Your loved one had reached that inevitable point, the moment when earthly life fades away and eternity opens up like a vast horizon. There was no fear, just a deep calm that enveloped their being. Suddenly they felt it, a light, not just any light, but one that was bright and warm, filling everything. It was as if every fiber of their soul was drawn toward it, attracted by a force more powerful than anything they had known in life. As they approached, that light revealed a place of indescribable beauty, a paradise, a corner of peace where time did not exist, where pain and suffering were only distant memories. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. This was the place prepared for them, the final destination where they would find eternal rest. Your loved one felt an immense peace, a peace they had never experienced on earth. There was no urgency, no rush. The past, with all its struggles and anguish, faded away, replaced by a serenity that embraced them completely. It was as if every wound, every pain dissolved into the light, leaving only the pure essence of their being. For many who have had near-death experiences, this is the final act of liberation. At the end of the road, only what truly matters remains. The material dissolves, and the soul prepares for the great journey. It is a reminder for all of us that in life, the essential is not in what we possess, but in who we are, in the love we give, and in the peace we carry within. In the end, that is the only wealth we can take with us. At the moment of death, this light and this place are nothing more than a brief flash, a fleeting encounter before returning to life. However, for your loved one, there was no return. This was their moment, the end of their earthly journey, and the beginning of an eternal existence in that paradise so often spoken of in Christian tradition. The experience of seeing a light at the moment of death is interpreted as an encounter with the divine, the glory of God, or the entrance to his kingdom. This light symbolizes God's guidance and love, leading the soul toward eternal life. Although the Bible does not explicitly describe the experience of seeing a light at the moment of death, it offers several verses that help to understand this idea within the Christian faith. In the scriptures, God is described as light. This light symbolizes his holiness, purity, and glory. In 1 John 1:15 it says, God is light, and in him there is no darkness. This light represents the truth and eternal life that God offers to all who believe in him. When someone is on their deathbed and sees a light, Christians interpret it as an approach to the Creator, described as a pure and radiant light. Jesus himself presents as the light of the world in John 8:12, saying, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." This verse emphasizes that those who have followed Christ during their lives will not walk in darkness at death, but will be guided by the light toward eternal life. The vision of light at the moment of death can be seen as the fulfilled promise of being guided toward the kingdom of God. In the book of Revelation, when describing the New Jerusalem, it says, "The city does not need the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gives it light, and the Lamb is its lamp." This apocalyptic image reinforces the idea that the light seen by the dying is an anticipation of God's glory, a welcome to the divine presence in heaven. As your loved one advanced toward the light, everything became clearer. They understood that life on earth was just a preparation, a stage before reaching this final destination. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel will save it. Here, in this place of peace, they understood that the true purpose of life was to prepare for this moment, to reach this place where the soul finds its eternal home. And so, with one last look at the world left behind, your loved ones surrendered completely to the light. There was no sadness, no painful goodbyes, just a deep sense of fulfillment, of having fulfilled their purpose. At that moment, they knew they were exactly where they were meant to be, in the place where they would live forever in peace and harmony. Number 6, they understand the purpose of their life. Sixthly, our loved ones discover important revelations about their existence and purpose. They learn that everything they have lived has been part of their spiritual evolution, that nothing happens by chance, and that everything was their own choice. They realize that their path has been fruitful since their spiritual evolution has been considerable. Your loved one has crossed the threshold of death and now finds themselves in a space where time and space dissolve into pure consciousness. There is no more pain or confusion, only an overwhelming clarity that reveals deep truths about the life left behind. In this state, they begin to understand something they had never perceived with such intensity before. Everything, absolutely everything, has had a purpose. As their consciousness floats in this new plane of existence, a powerful revelation unfolds before them. Every moment of their life, from the most insignificant to the most momentous, was part of an intricate design. Nothing was by chance. To everything, there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Now they understand that every joy, every suffering, every decision made was part of a greater plan, one they had chosen before birth. Your loved one discovers that their existence was not just a passage of days, but a journey towards spiritual evolution. All the challenges they faced, the trials they overcame, were not punishments or mere bad luck. They were lessons, opportunities to grow and evolve. To polish the soul like a diamond under pressure, every experience lived has its purpose in the grand divine design. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. Now, your loved one understands that their life has been a continuous process of spiritual growth, and that every step they took was toward the perfection of their spirit. The tension of this revelation is intense. It is a moment of deep introspection, where the weight of all their decisions and experiences becomes evident. They wonder if their life has been fruitful, if they have fulfilled the purpose for which they came into the world. Then, with overwhelming clarity, they realize that yes, their life has been a success. Not in worldly terms, but in terms of the soul. Their spirit has grown, has evolved, and has learned the lessons it came to learn. But along with this understanding comes a deeper reflection. They realize that in life, we often get carried away by the superficial and the immediate, forgetting that we are here for something greater than just existing. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. At this moment, your loved one realizes that true transformation is not achieved by accumulating wealth or seeking recognition, but by cultivating the spirit, loving, forgiving, and learning. With each revelation, peace surrounds them. There are no more doubts or regrets, only a deep understanding that everything they lived through had a purpose. Every tear, every smile, every act of love, and every mistake were essential pieces of a puzzle that they now see in its entirety. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him. In death, this truth shines clearer than ever. Everything, even what seemed inexplicable, has been for their good and their spiritual growth. And so, with this new understanding, your loved one feels ready to continue their journey. They have fulfilled their mission on earth, have learned what they needed to learn, and are now prepared for what comes next. They know that their path does not end here, that the evolution of the soul continues in the beyond. But they do so with the tranquility of knowing they have given their best, that they have lived a full and meaningful life. In this last moment of revelation, they say goodbye with love, leaving a legacy of wisdom and growth. Their earthly journey has come to an end, but their spirit moves on, full of peace, wisdom, and the certainty that everything has been as it should be. Number 8. They see the afterlife. As they move toward the light, they begin to see other people. These are those who departed before them, loved ones waiting with open arms. Blessed are those who are invited to the wedding supper of the Lamb. Here, in this place beyond what mortal eyes can see, souls gather in a reunion filled with joy. There is no more pain, no more suffering, only the purity of love that transcends death. But what they see is not just a reunion. As they continue to move forward, the surroundings transform into an indescribably beautiful landscape. It is unlike anything they have seen on earth, yet at the same time, everything seems familiar. It is as if the paradise they once imagined in life has become a reality before their eyes. He who overcomes will inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. This is the place that was promised to them, an eternal home where all promises are fulfilled. This new heaven and new earth are majestic, without the stain or corruption of the old world. The colors are more vivid, the air purer, and every step they take leads them to a place where everything is perfect, immaculate. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. As they enter this new realm, your loved one finds themselves in the fullness of divine love and the eternal peace that was promised. The holy city, the New Jerusalem. In the book of Revelation, the holy city, the New Jerusalem, is described as a place of incomparable beauty and splendor. Its streets are paved with pure gold, as transparent as crystal. There is no darkness here, as the presence of God illuminates every corner. The walls are adorned with all kinds of precious stones, and its gates, made of giant pearls, are always open, inviting all the redeemed to enter. As your loved one walks through these glorious avenues, they realize they are not alone. They are surrounded by angels, beings of unparalleled beauty and purity, who accompany them with soft and melodious songs. And I heard the voice of many angels around the throne, and the living creatures and the elders, and the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000, and thousands of thousands. These angels guide them toward the throne of God, where everything culminates in a vision of divine majesty and power. Finally, they reach the throne, where they see God himself, surrounded by a light so intense that it cannot be looked at directly, but whose presence is felt in every fiber of their being. And I saw the one who sat on the throne, and the appearance of his face was like a jasper and a sardius stone, and there was a rainbow around the throne, like an emerald. Before the throne, there is a sea of glass, serene and transparent, reflecting the purity of divinity. Number 9, they see and know God. At that moment, the soul becomes aware of its new life and feels full and radiant. Your loved one has reached the end of their earthly life, and with the last beat of their heart, everything familiar fades into a whisper. Suddenly, they find themselves in a completely different place, a space where time dissolves and peace envelops them. There is no more pain, no more fear, only a deep calm that fills every corner of their being. In that instant, they realize a presence that has always accompanied them, though perhaps they had never perceived it so clearly. It is an overwhelming sensation, an indescribable force that surrounds them and fills them with a love so pure and perfect that there are no words to describe it. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. For the first time, your loved one sees clearly what they had only intuited before: the presence of God. What follows is an encounter that transcends any earthly experience. Before their eyes, a brilliant light, more intense than any sun, appears. But this light does not blind. It reveals. In its center, your loved one sees God, not as a distant and inaccessible figure, but as the very source of all that is good and true. In that light, they recognize themselves not only as a finite being, but as part of God's eternal plan. It is an instant of pure revelation, where all doubts and fears dissipate in the presence of God. Your loved one feels a peace so profound that no earthly experience could match it. In his presence is fullness of joy. At his right hand are pleasures forevermore. In this sacred encounter, there is no judgment or condemnation, only an unconditional love that envelops them like a warm mantle. But in the midst of this peace, there is also a sense of awe and wonder, because seeing God is not just seeing a light or feeling a presence. It is understanding for the first time who God truly is and what it means to be part of his creation. Faced with this reality, your loved one understands that God is not just the creator, but the beginning and the end of everything that exists. In this encounter, they realize that every moment of their life was known by God, that every step they took led them to this moment of truth. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. It is a profound realization that fills them with gratitude and awe. All the weight of life, with its joys and sorrows, fades in the light of this understanding. Finally, in this encounter, there is a merging of souls, a moment when your loved one no longer feels separated from God, but completely united with him. It is a return home, a reunion with the source of all love and life. For in him we live and move and have our being. In this moment, your loved one not only sees God, but knows him in a way that transcends any earthly knowledge. This encounter with God is the climax of all that your loved one has lived. It is the end of their earthly journey and the beginning of their eternity in the presence of the divine. With this revelation, with this understanding, your loved one surrenders completely, knowing they are in the arms of a love that never ends, in the presence of a God who has known and loved them since before time began. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And so, with indescribable peace, your loved one fades into the eternal light of God, where they have finally found their true home.